Right, we're back. So, we've entered Atomic, which is, I think, the middle era for the tech tree. Let me double check. Yeah, approximately. I mean, there are 13 eras, and well, Atomic is the 7th, and it's written, but over this long, long tech tree. Right. Oh yeah, I did want to talk about propaganda. And I will get to that eventually. Eventually. I want to see what the tech quote is first, before I say anything. Moderately unrelated news, I counted how many medieval episodes there are. Apparently there's 8. Yeah. For reference, I haven't, well, at the time of recording, I haven't actually edited and released all of them yet. I will get to it though. And then I need to do the drawing time lapse for Industrial. No, Renaissance. I mean, I do already have ideas for these, which you should have seen by now. In fact, if you're watching this, then you should have seen the Atomic thumbnail from the previous episode, or from the drawing time lapse, unless you skipped those, which... I mean, I get it. But you should have seen it by now, and as well as those of the previous eras. So those should already exist for you. They don't for me yet, though. Outside of an idea in my head, which I've got a pretty good one for Renaissance. It's probably going to be the, Columbus, that painting of Columbus, Christopher Columbus, landing in Hispaniola. At least that's what it's going to be based on. And then the industrial one, I'm not sure yet, but I'll probably do something based off of the, Manifest Destiny paintings. Those seem like a reasonable thing to do for that. Salt gatherer, I guess. There really is nothing useful to do with that specific tile. Just the way it is, sadly. Screw it, start building infrastructure automatically. Is that corn? It looks like corn from here. Yes, it is corn. Okay. But yeah, I need to focus on getting the production up. my cities, and then ensuring that at least trying to get the budget balanced again. That tends to vary wildly through a number of reasons, due to a number of reasons. Is there anything I can do with you? Not really. Okay, this tile is within reach of a city, as is this one. Huh. There really are only a few tiles that are out of reach. This is one of them, this is the other one. And you know, of course, the ones that aren't in cultural borders, but those don't really count now, do they? Yeah, there's really not anything I can do with you for the time being, other than plant a forest here. Which I am willing to do. I suppose that these production buildings all increase gold income, so I should be able to recover to some degree. That doesn't increase gold income, but the maintenance cost will be paid for, given time. Traction engine workshop. Coal dynamo, wood power dynamo? Yeah, and then parts plant. And then copper works. Aluminum smith, and then head on up. Oh boy, I need to figure this out. I can get one production off of you, so sure. For just one turn, yeah. It is worth it after all. That might be more efficient than all the other options, the leather factory. Yeah, it's at least more efficient than the oil refinery. It's not more efficient than the parts plant, though. So the parts plant goes first, and then the leather factory. And then the oil refinery. Then the hydro plant, efficiency. Yeah, let's send the new builders to the top as well. The camps first, because turns. Could I build a center of shark studies anywhere? I don't think so. Okay, yeah, at this point, I'm pretty sure that's the case, so I'm still going to check a few of these cities. Okay, fine. Fine. Fur farms? Nope, okay. Oh yeah, right. I built a hero unit. Builded? As built. Language. Okay, there's no more production buildings here. Yaren. Any fun buildings that will get me free buildings? Nah. And sure. You know what? Okay, so let's start working my way through here. You know, I need planes. Yeah, let's build that. Just that. So that I have access to aircraft. And then I can use that for fun stuff. Like quick air travel. Airlifting units is a great way to bypass a lot of logistical issues. I could just airlift the settlers over to Neonesia onto a city nearby, or to a city where that happens to be close to where I want to settle. Clay pit, camps, straw gatherer, canoe builder. You. Oh, shut up. Yeah, I think that should be good for the moment. The queue. Yeah, the longer it goes, the more I'm gonna have to do stuff like that. I think cities can be automated, but I don't trust it. This plant, there's the copper works, aluminum smith, and then these 4 production lines. Aluminum smelter. Nice. Guess there's aluminum nearby. Another source is always helpful. Wow. Maybe not necessarily helpful, but it keeps the pressure down, I guess. Yeah, Windows turning into a well-developed city. Oh, look, an advertising agency. The fact that propaganda unlocks this is fitting, to say the least. Okay, time to start going down the science path. I can't go all the way to modern physics though. That's going to take too much, but I can work my way up to fission. Cosmology. And the encryption, decryption stuff. Wait, why did I pick Commando? Yeah, okay, that's good. So, propaganda. It does seem out that this term tends to have a very negative connotation to it. Because, well, what is propaganda? That's actually complex because of the fact that meanings change, but an older definition of propaganda, and to some degree the simplest, is that propaganda is any sort of creative work that's designed to convince you. It could be a giant mural, it could be a pamphlet, it could be um, an anthem like the one that was I'm gonna, yeah, the quote for propaganda. I forgot it did that. Yeah. Okay, the guild hall is obviously good, as is the levy. I'm gonna focus down those two. Anything further could be influenced by the levy itself, so... Though efficiency-wise, the parts plant and the oil refinery are actually about the same. Steam crane's faster though, so... The surveyor's office can be turned into the construction firm, so I'm not going to bother building that yet. The factory has plus 10%, but it's more expensive than the foundry. But it does seem slow. I'm not sure if it's more efficient or not. Oh well. But yes, propaganda is any sort of creative work that is designed to convince you of something. Which, yeah, considering how negative it is tends to be perceived, is really strange to me. After all, if that's all that propaganda is, something designed to convince you, then, well, is it really bad that other people try to convince you that, you know, their opinions are correct? I mean, maybe to some degree, but the fact of the matter is that people have opinions, and generally they want to tell other people what those opinions are. And it feels good to convince them that, yes, out of all, you know, out of all the possible opinions to have, this one's the best one. It's a sort of intellectual verification that your ideas are valid and have merit. Which I can assure you is a very good feeling to have. And if you don't get this sort of validation every once in a while, then it becomes, well, difficult to maintain any sort of interest in intellectual pursuits. Which is why it's a good idea to, you know, at least look towards getting it every once in a while. Of course, there are different layers to this. Because of course there is. Because propaganda, as with everything, people have different capabilities of, influencing others through it. And it's not skill. That's not what I'm talking about. A skillful propagandist, sure, yeah, that's not something I'm going to complain about. However, there is a tendency that, well, certain groups have much easier access to media, at least in spreading their views. So, generally speaking, it's a lot easier. Yeah, most propaganda comes from the more powerful simply because of they, you know, they just have more resources to be able to do this sort of a thing. And that can actually be somewhat problematic, especially if they promote certain views that are, in fact, against the interests of the people receiving said propaganda. So there's always someone who has a vested interest in duping others. Which is funny because a lot of the people that accuse other people of doing so are in fact doing this. Every accusation is a confession. There's a reason why that saying exists. Okay, that should be good to go for the moment. Charcoal burner, tar refinery. Skip the candle, tinsmith, skip. Okay. But yeah, propaganda on its own is fine. It's quantity that can be problematic. If you're constantly inundated with it, well, there is a pernicious aspect to propaganda that's built around, the fact that humans are social creatures. Specifically, the fact that if you get inundated with it enough, with any sort of propaganda whatsoever, you start to believe it, even if you originally didn't. And that's somewhat scary. Because if you're constantly um, exposed to people, to, beliefs that are actually bad for you, for one reason or another, like, let's avoid anything political. Let's go with homeopathy. Because that's certainly not something contentious. Where I live, it is contentious and somewhat commonly believed. And I hate it so much. Anyway, Honolulu, handle those. Let's build the airport. And I'm going to want to see if I can airlift stuff. Because if I can, then that's amazing. If I can't, well, I'll just learn a little bit. But rifleman, and where is that pioneer? How did you become cheaper than the immigrant? Hopefully they don't build at the same time. They shouldn't. But it really wouldn't be the first time. Okay, build the hospital. Yeah, there's no boat buildings left. Okay. Priority is production, science, other stuff. Huh. production, food science, and then the other stuff, including useful things like the airport. Although I don't really need it anywhere yet, outside of a few very specific cities. Dye factory. Okay, so the Jade Carver doesn't get replaced. Piercer, yes. Yes. I don't have alt medicine yet, so... Fine, build the animal trainers. Saddler, because there's no manufacturing district. Documents, because why not? Trans hut. Gem cutter, for money. Animal tamer complex. Got rogue turns to public restrooms, barrels. Gambling done. Factory, factory, factory. Glaze. Factory. Lick shop. I think there's a vet already as a possibility. Don't build a landfill, it's just not useful enough. I think there's a factory for that. Okay. I'm not gonna have core mines in ages. Pavilion for the culture, I guess. Sure. The hypermarket is extremely far away, so no. I think the city park's a building. Bastard's house. Hypo costs. Circle. I'll stop there for that city. Anyway, and engineering school, of course, as always. It's 15 turns. I can figure out what to do next later. Yeah. Although, actually, now that I think about it, I think the connotation of propaganda being bad and something to avoid entirely probably comes from the Soviet Union, and I'd say for good reason, but also not so good reason. I mean, well, the internet is predominantly American, which is probably where some of that stuff comes from. And in the States, it was very well known that, well, the Soviet Union uses a lot of propaganda. And, you know, the Cold War states. If the Soviet Union does it, then it's bad. Which is to say, there's a lot of terrible stuff that the Soviet Union did. But it's not anything special about the country. It's a state. It does bad things. It is inherently an amoral structure that's built around maintaining power for a small class of people. Expecting morality out of it is like... Well, expecting a cat to start flying. No. Okay, expecting a cat to start swimming. There. Can I do it? Yes. Is it likely to? Not really. Not for most cats, anyway. Not unless they need to, for one reason or another. Where's Crescent? Okay, so that's a lumber mill. Okay, rope factory, no. Titanium smelter. Rope factory, advanced ironworks. Okay, so that something else. Mathematics department, college equipment, vaccine. Anything more? It's probably going to be new buildings unlocked with later attacks. Specifically science buildings. Not production buildings, though. I'm going to be keeping my distance from those for a while. Okay, I also need the hospital, so I can build that vaccine lab. Get even more science. Of course, I need to find buildings that can deal with the maintenance costs. That's an eclectic mix of missing buildings. Better build that tin mine at some point. Okay, dynamo. Yep. Tin mine outpaces the peak dynamo, which also... Yeah, it's close enough. To outpacing that Smith. You, and you, and you, and you, and you, I guess. Scientists. Right, this is outside of my cultural borders. City influence, to be precise. Still build railroads. Even if for the moment there's not much up there to handle. But yeah, propaganda isn't by its very nature bad. Especially if it's genuinely impassioned and, you know, low means. I think I said this before, but I'll say it again. If the person next, it's probably better to trust the person next to you trying to convince you of something than a random poster on a wall. Especially if, well, specifically if you can trust that that person knows what they're talking about. If you want to know about quantum physics, you're probably better off consulting a, you know, textbook or something on quantum physics rather than a random person on the train that swears up and down that quantum physics allows them to project their consciousness or something. Or lets them ignore some aspect of science or something, I don't know. Or is what makes... yeah. What was it called again? Dang it, I forgot the name of that bogus medicine that I've talked about more than once. What's the dilutions? Hypotherm? No, it's not. Drat, I really did forget the name. It's not worth my time. Okay. Time to continue filling up stock market. Let's get that coastal preserve. It costs money, but it's valuable. Oh, a newsstand. Sure. I mean, the coastal preserve can get me more money. Not money. It can produce pollution and whatnot, which has negative and lasting bad effects. Well, it has negative and lasting effects, so... But I just avoid the liquor store because of how little it gives me. You know what? Chop chop. Sure, it eats up some of my espionage, which indicates that it's a criminal building, but it doesn't actually spawn any barbarian criminals, nor does it increase crime, so I don't care. I probably should double check something. There's one here too, right? I see. I don't see it. Okay, what's a chop shop? Huh, okay. Well, right to repair and all that. What is humanity if not a relentless bunch of scavengers? Wait, whoa. How much would this give me? +7 production. Okay. Right, I need to build those modern offices. So I can actually finally build that construction firm that's what he's been putting off for way too long. Okay. Parts plan is at +11, which leads me to presume that that's already built. Yeah, the factory is at +23. That's Steve Crane, though. I'll take that first. Construction firm. Okay, you know what? I'm building those modern offices. It is worth it to build them this early. In fact, the sort of quantity of propaganda is what's problematic. Simply put, states do have a huge amount of influence capability through this. Dangerously high, I would say. So you should really be careful with it. And pay attention to what they're trying to do. The same is, however, also true of very rich individuals who own newspapers, TV shows, news websites, social media sites, etc. Simply put, always be wary of who worked on what and, you know, stuff like that. In order to perhaps have a... Ho ho ho! I'll get to that in a bit. That building. I did not realize I unlocked that already. Neat. I cannot wait to put that to good use. But always be wary of what what does this person get out of it? Because that's always an important question to ask. And can lead to some very useful conclusions. Well, useful for you, perhaps not useful to the people trying to sell you something. Which, on the topic of selling things... No, I'm not trying to sell you anything. Except my own opinions. This definition of propaganda is actually pretty open and does not need to be just political. For example, alternative medicine is very strongly based on a belief system. Oh, sorry. Accidentally hit wrong key. Nothing there, nothing there. Okay. Honestly, there isn't that much reason not to start from the top. Outside of, okay, some very sim. Yeah. At the very least, it ensures that, oh, radios there. Nothing, I don't accidentally build something that ends up getting replaced down the line. Okay, I think that's a good set of buildings to occupy Winnow for a while. What I can't... Proof is the idol before whom the pure mathematician tortures himself. Well said, Eddington, well said. This will get me more science with the mathematics department, which I really have been putting off for no reason. And gets me a few wonders, including... Okay, so Fermat's theorem, if... I don't... Yeah. States that no three positive integers a, b, and c satisfy the equation a to the n plus b to the n equals c to the n for any integer value of n greater than 2. The cases n equals 1 and 2 have been known to have infinitely many solutions since antiquity. I mean, 1 is pretty simple because, well, any number to the first power is itself. So, 1 plus 2 equals 3. The 2 is the Pythagorean theorem, which is that, well, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And, well, one of the most famous triangles that satisfies it, well, it's the right triangle formula. And 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared. After all, 3 squared is 9, and 4 squared is 16. 9 plus 16 is 25, which, that's what 5 squared is. Gödel's incompleteness theorems aren't nearly as simple. Well, the thing is, Fermat's last theorem is unknown. Still hasn't been figured out as far as I know. But Gödel's incompleteness theorem is basically states that there are some levels of inconsistency in mathematics, and that you can never fully complete math. You're going to have holes somewhere, which is fascinating. And Hilbert's problem are 23 problems in mathematics published in 1900. Okay. Some of them have gotten solved since, even if that doesn't tell much. They're basically a bunch of published unfinished problems in 1900, some of which have been finished since then, which is lovely, because why wouldn't it be? Stumbled upon some amber. Though the image used for the Hilbert's problem is quite funny. I have to hand it to them for picking that image. Yeah, fine. Okay, you don't need to build the Marine Institute. Just, no. Where the heck is the hospital? Oh, I've already built the vaccine lab. I'm already building it, okay. I assumed I needed to build it. But no, I do not. Homeopathy was the thing I was forgetting. Okay, yeah. Like, homeopathy is built on the belief that it works. If people don't believe it works, then it won't sell at all. I mean, to some degree, you can argue that this is the true for any commercial product. It's not what I meant when I said century. But sure. Factory, math department. Science. All the science. Okay, and hospital. Don't worry, I'm sure all the maintenance costs will be paid at some point. The positive balance is probably from a large number of We Love Anarchy days, which erase maintenance costs for the city that they occur. Yeah, you can see that sudden drop. That's why it's difficult to tell exactly where my balance actually sits, because quite a few maintenance costs get waived randomly for a period of time. And then they come back again, which is always a lovely experience. Oh, there's bauxite here. Okay. Well, then I have a good reason to replace that factory. You don't need bliss. Flanking, I guess? And the off chance that you actually need to run away from a fight? But you're pretty beefy with all those promotions, so... But yeah, but with homeopathy specifically, you can't just have a generalized trust in science to make things work out, as it is for regular medicine. I mean, medicine can be pretty suspicious considering massive corporations control the, medicine production. But the same is also true of alternative medicine, which is really, really funny. Especially when it's, some sort of big business, like homeopathy is where I'm from. Those who take part in it, stick it to Big Pharma, are actually taking part in a different subset of Big Pharma that's perfectly happy to continue peddling that they're not part of the big businesses, but, are actually run by regular people just like you, just with, hundreds of times to even millions of times more net worth. But yeah, beyond that, they're totally the exact same people. Okay, I don't know why the scroll bar wasn't working. Yeah, that will give me more production. So I should go ahead and do that. Plus more available bauxite. Okay, so. See this little thing right here? That's a tunnel. Ooh, yes. Okay. I'm going to... Wait, this can go just through ice. Oh, that's... Huh. So I can manipulate ice with the modern workboat. Sure, it removes the unit, but... could potentially be useful to cracking open some paths. does require the airport, but it's not a very large influence, so I cannot put it off for a while. At least with regards to actually building it. The chemical factory I can avoid building though. Don't need it yet. Yeah, it should be good for a while. I can skip the area because the airport exists. Yeah. Just generally be wary of who is telling you and what. Also, a really funny thing is that, by the definition I just posited, advertising is also propaganda. And I really feel that the world would be a better place if we acknowledge that more often. Because what is advertising? Well, fairly simply put, it is creative material that's trying to convince you to buy a product. Yeah. Simple as that. Again, I feel like the world would probably be a bit of a better place if we acknowledge that more often. But yes, this tunnel. It's like a road, but it's under the it can be placed on water. The thing is, it's not for boats. It's for land units. Now, this is something that's specific to Caveman2Cosmos. Um, I'm not sure how they managed to do it, but it's literally just roads, you know, these railroads and whatnot, that can be built on water tiles so that land tiles can cross, so that land units can cross as if they were land tiles. It's fascinating that they managed to do that. Because it is a very, very powerful thing. Okay, steam crane. There's the parts plant, but I think the oil refinery is more efficient. Yeah, probably doesn't matter too much. Anything more I want to wait on until there's more information. But really, it's kind of simple. Be careful who you trust your beliefs to. Well, the shaping of your beliefs to. Because they don't necessarily have your best interests in mind. But yeah, the tunnels themselves, those are extremely helpful. Oh, finally the tile can be worked. Okay, anything here? Yes. Oh, it's turn 5600. Okay. If it wasn't obvious already, but this is the case. I already have all those, so I don't think I... Yeah, they're right there. I don't think I need to build an orchard for those here. Okay, the production list. What to build, where, and how. Okay, that should be good for that city for a while. And a Spiddy already built the factory. That's gonna be fun finding the right thing to build. Well, the answer is probably assembly plant. Yeah, it probably is. And then the answer after that is probably it's the industrial farms. Considering the assembly plant is... I mean, if I take a third of that, that's 18 production for the steam crane. Yeah. Okay. Are you in a good position to build a factory? Reasonably. Although I should check to see if anything can get me more production faster. Okay, pretty much the clay pit is the only one that fulfills that requirement. Almost. Yep. Well, moving on. Anything big enough along this coastline to hold a fish farm? Doesn't seem to be the case. Not along the coastline, anyway. How about over here? If I already put a fish farm everywhere I could. Nope. Still, one city needs it. And also, you know, propaganda doesn't need to be commercial. There's also religious propaganda, often called proselytization. I think. Okay, so I can airlift. Where the heck's Pinch? What happened to Pinch? Okay. So, assuming I want to plop a city down here, I can just... Yep, okay. Target city does not need an airport. Glad to confirm that. Just needs to be another city. Ah, airlifting. It solves so many logistical issues. So easily. Let's get you a wonder, actually. You know... Yeah, National Fire Service. Lowering flammability. I mean, I haven't had a bad event with flammability in a while, but it's still better to be safe. Farm.
In relativity, movement is continuous, causally determinate and well-defined, while in quantum mechanics it is discontinuous, not causally determinate, and not well-defined.
Yep. That's actually what the quantum stands for. Quantized. Energy and whatnot, well, if a value is quantized, they can only have extremely distinct values. Oh, you're a rifleman. Still have no idea why I can't get pinch, but okay. Well, since you're here, it would be reasonable to plop you just a bit closer. Over here is a fairly good spot. I'm still next to water, and while I can't reach the elephants here at all, yeah, they'll probably have to stay out of reach. I mean, I can put a camp on there so that I always have it available to me. This does mean I can pretty much do as I please insofar as that's concerned. I don't need to wait on transport ships. Okay, so you can build an achievement. Let's go ahead and do that. And then do the ye old Rifleman Pioneer. Yeah, upgrade to Rifleman rather than Musketman now. I could probably upgrade them with another tech fairly easily. Do I finish... Do I go for the next tech or do I just finish here? Because we're already on an hour. Yeah, let's keep going for a while. It's only 10 turns. And these turns have been a bit slow, so... I should be able to speed up reasonably a bit, so long as I don't spend too much time trying to figure stuff out. Unnecessarily. Just randomly stumbled upon a source of cow here. Right, don't get attacked by a sun bear and you're fine. I mean, it should be reasonably fine, right? I hope. Probably should start to work prepping infrastructure in order to make that sort of thing easier to do. That's something for the near future. Maybe I can't put off as much as I wanted to. Ah, well. Great, yeah, like that. Lower flammability makes stuff like that less likely to happen. Production. Science. Science, science, science. I can figure something out later. Right. Production. It's starting to get complex enough again that I'm having difficulty keeping up what to do and where. It's becoming fairly obvious that I need to start working on these. Okay, that I think. This as well, and also this. And any further, I should wait at least a little bit on to have a better idea of what's. Yeah. If I try to do everything at once, it's going to take forever, and I can always put some of the stuff off for next turn, really. No matter what happens, you have priority. The mining camp always comes first. It's really sad there isn't a one that builds you immediately in every city. That would have been very nice to have access to. Such a wonder doesn't exist. I think the factories are generally safe to build anyway, so I'm just going to build a bunch of them here in order to try to build up cash again. Guess amusement park. Yeah, I'll sit around until quantum physics comes in. Well, air shipping warehouse. Oh, trade stuff. Oh, you do have a lack on food production. Okay. Why am I building the oxen mill? I don't need that. Factories. I guess fish pens for last. That's right, I've got a fish heading over there. If it doesn't make it there in time, then... Well, that's probably my fault by this point. A lot of enclosures, just build them. They're fairly cheap and provide a huge amount of assistance. Uh, leave the fur farm for later though. It's gonna take you a lot of turns. Another lot of turns to reach 30 pops, so. Ah, great. I need to figure out which building that was. I can just check the message log. Stained glass workshop in... It doesn't tell me which city. Thank you. It's somewhere close to the top, right? Yep, there it is. Build a replacement. Okay. Right, where is that? There it is, construction firm. 30 production is a lot, and I am happy to obtain that much in short order. There, coal-fired, no. Cottage industry, first and foremost. That is a lot of production. I think the farm supply is pretty good. Let's get these first. Yeah, I should grab any one production building, so long as they aren't replaced by something else down the line, like this lumber mill, park gatherer, yeah, town maker, town factory, etc. Farm supply. Coal power dynamic, then farm supply, and then parts plant. I don't see a hydro plant, so. Corn. Might as well mine the tile. Okay, so if it's in the construction list, you can't build it. Huh. That's helpful to know. Also, is that tunnel anywhere close to finished? Yep, there it is. It's actually done now. Maybe start building it. Let me demonstrate. Yep. Land unit on water. They can't. They also can't be attacked by water units because I think there's no actual way to handle the interaction. Okay, so the next city. Here-ish? Probably. Yeah, puts it within reach of these. I could put a city here, and then in the future, maybe a city around here-ish in order to reach these aspects a bit better. Well, it's just one fossil bed on rocky terrain, so it should be relatively okay. Okay, do you need to get rid of the animals there, because I do plan on selling that area now. At this point, it just becomes easiest to just prep everything with infrastructure and then just quickly deal with it. So there shouldn't be a problem, hopefully. Okay, where's the hospital? There it is. Oh, I can finally build a real improvement for the tile. Yeah, this is just as demonstration. Of course, I can't use land workers to build water improvements. Also grab the coal here. So it shall remain workboats. What just died? Rudra was destroyed by a big king. Well, I don't know what that was. I'll probably settle on this tile since there's no other nearby water. I'm not sure on the exact logistics. Probably here-ish, maybe on this side. I need to fill in this area at some point. Maybe plop a city along one of these tiles. I know that I should build next to rivers whenever possible. Anything beyond that? Is potentially subject to change, yeah, actually. Details and all that. I'm gonna avoid expanding the queue beyond production. No city for the time being. Yeah. Okay, so there's no good reason not to. Let's gather. Technically, I should build this first. Okay, university. Still a long, long way away from much more than that. coal-fired dynamo. Fur farm, if I can build it, go ahead. It's better than all the other options. Okay. I'll handle the next turn and then stop for this session.
If anybody says he can think about quantum physics without getting giddy, that only shows he has not understood the first thing about them.
Yep. Nah, I probably should. Okay, that obsoletes Isaac Newton's college, which is annoying, but I've got Einstein's laboratory to help make up for that. Once I build it, of course. It lets me build the heavy water production plant, which is, well, helpful. Yeah, I really should build Einstein's laboratory. Somewhere. Oh, yeah, and uranium's revealed. Okay, some here. There was already mine there. Nice. And I'm not sure why anyone wasn't remarking on health issues over there. They're in a swamp or in a mountain? Mountain, okay. Yeah, I've already got at least... Yeah, I've got 3 already exploited sources. So that's neat. Okay, yeah. So I don't go through another turn. I'm gonna call it for now. Only Vortex is pretty slow, but because I'm building up these are all the ones that will help increase my research speed, so I should be able to get the next 4 without going that much beyond an hour, hopefully. I am trying to put off electronics for a bit though. So I'm getting these as well after I get vision, and then maybe go for that. It does drop the monastery though. But I can get free physics lab in every city. Plus an atomic clock, actual laboratory. Plus, of course, all the things that electronics gives me. There's a lot of stuff, including a jazz club. And I'll probably get these at some point. Well, I need to. I need to get every tech that I can. Even the ones that don't seem necessary, because I don't know. Except for the religion ones, which I know aren't necessary, and I don't want to deal with right now. Hellenism is still not yet researched, which is odd. But I'll make my way through it. Plus, now that I can airlift units from my capital, I can very easily just, I don't need this transport anymore. Not unless I try to go somewhere that, well, entirely separate continent. Plus, also helpful is the fact that I can now build tunnels. which act as roads that land units can use to get past water tiles. Once this is done with its build process, which is going to take another 9 turns, I can now move units between this little island and Byzantium. With another 2 along here, then I have a permanent connection between Mononesia and Byzantium. Well, permanent. I have a land accessible connection that can be pillaged by barbs or privateers, which gets really annoying. And for right now, I think I can only build those on coastline. Well, okay, let me check the Civilopedia. Um, what are improvements? Landscape? Yeah. Routes. Okay. Tunnel. Um, it really doesn't tell me anything. Can make tunnel. Hmm. Well, okay. Depth is tech limited. I'm not sure if I can build on seas yet. I know for a fact that deep seas are inaccessible right now, as are oceans. I might be able to build in seas by now, but I don't know. There's a decent chance that these 2 islands may end up remaining cut off from Ethiopia and the rest of the home network, as I'm going to call it. But these 2 islands can work together. These are too small for me to name. But I can also connect up here because, well, this is just tropical coast. Otherwise, would not have been able to find Ethiopia um, in the ancient era. Prehistoric, actually. Sea travel, which is 1 tile away from, which is 1 tile out from the coast, is I think either ancient or classical tech. Although it was only those 2 islands down here that were distant enough to be accessible by sea. Distant enough while also close enough to only be accessible by sea. Yeah, had these 2 continents been 1 tile closer together, it would have been possible for me to just travel. Or if I had gotten this tile earlier, controlled this tile earlier, then I would have been able to just jump over to here and, I guess, go to war with Hati for more land? I don't know. Either way, I've definitely gone on long enough. I'll see you again next time. Till then, bye.